Professor David Velloney is with us. He's an associate professor at the Regent University School of Law, Regent University, regent.edu. Regent University, I believe, is the school that Jerry Falwell founded, isn't it, Professor?
Pat Robertson.
Pat Robertson. Thank you. I'm sorry. I mix up my evangelical leaders. So Pat's still around, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, you are taking the position, and I don't understand this, that it was just a fine thing to assassinate Anwar al-Awlaki, an American citizen, without recourse to any kind of due process. And to my best recollection, in fact, let me get the exact language, the Fifth Amendment, nor shall any person be deprived of life, liberty, or property, this is certainly depriving of life, without due process of law.
Right. Well, I think the real question that you've got to ask yourself in that situation, first of all, I don't like to use the term assassination when this individual was clearly an enemy combatant, a belligerent, and therefore...
He was not carrying weapons.
Well, he was involved operationally with al-Qaeda. He, according to the administration, the Obama administration, he's a terrorist recruiter, as we know, actively plotting against the administration.
But al-Qaeda is not a country.
Well, that's correct.
So how do you declare war against not a country? I mean, the Brits had this problem with the Irish Republican Army. They never declared war against the IRA. They arrested people. The Italians had a problem with the Red Brigades. They arrested people. And the Red Brigades even killed their prime minister, Aldo Moro. The Germans had a problem with the Baader-Meinhof gang. They arrested people. Well, what's wrong with using due process against criminals? I mean, Tim McVeigh, he was part of a large movement, committed a horrible terrorist act. We arrested him, put him to death, but we gave him due process.
Well, again, what type of due process is due when you're talking about someone who, one, under the Authorization for the Use of Military Force, which Congress passed, gave our executive the authority to determine people in this situation are in fact belligerents, as well as under the law of international armed conflict, which allows for an individual who has taken up arms in hostility against a country to be treated as a combatant. And that's what I believe has gone on in this particular situation.
So you believe the authorization to use force to be constitutional, even though it wasn't a declaration of war?
I do.
I'm sure you're aware that Jefferson, Madison, most of the founders would be horrified by that statement.
Well, I believe that to call it what was authorized was that the president was authorized to use armed conflict in this war against these terrorists.
But the reason why in the Constitution Congress can only appropriate money for military action for a maximum of 2 years, and military action is the only thing that is limited, where Congress is limited in how long they can appropriate money for, was precisely because the founders were concerned about our getting involved in unending wars or on and on. I mean, this was the essence of George Washington's farewell address, as you'll recall.
I have no question that there is a balance that the Constitution lays out, and no question that that's exactly what Congress was attempting to do with regard to allowing of course, Congress to have the purse strings. But at the same time, the executive, as the commander-in-chief and as the one most able to fight the wars, is given authority at times by Congress to go forward. And I think that's exactly what the authorization...
But this wasn't just to go forward. This was, you are judge, jury, and executioner. And we set up
Only when somebody takes up arms. Only if someone takes up arms and is engaged in hostilities against this country, which is exactly what this terrorist was involved in this particular case. I mean, let's think about it. The question is really what due process is due. He's part of an enemy force. He's a belligerent under the auspices of the AUMF. He's been on
he's a member of a criminal force. My personal take on it is that Al Qaeda is a criminal organization, not an enemy organization. That we're not, much like the IRA and the Baader-Meinhof gang and on and on, and for that matter, the militia movement that Tim McVeigh was part of. But here's the question: why not simply hold a trial in absentia, find him guilty, convict him, and sentence him to the death penalty, and then authorize the military to assassinate him?
Because there is no it is not necessary. This is not a judicial process question. This is a question of we're engaged in an armed conflict in a war that's unlike any war that we've been engaged in before.
No, it's totally Orwellian. That's how there is no declaration of war. Congress has not declared war. Again,
whether there's a declaration of war or not, this individual has, in fact, taken up arms against us, and in self-defense. I use the AUMF as one justification, which I believe is a good one. The other is, of course, that we are allowed to defend ourselves. And if this individual is engaged as an enemy combatant against us, then under international law...
He attacked us with rhetoric.
I'm sorry?
He attacked us with rhetoric. Do you think that Tokyo Rose, for example, well, actually, we were actually had a declared war in World War II, so that's a bad example. Do you think that, for example, when the Saudi Arabian government distributes books to other countries saying that, for example, that Jews use the blood of Muslims for their ceremonies, and therefore they should be attacked everywhere, including the United States, that we should be attacking the Saudi royal family?
Tom, that's not enough. I agree 100% that that's not enough. And I also agree, in my opinion, the administration ought to publicly disclose some of their basis for making the decision that they made, because all of us, you, me, Congress, could more closely scrutinize the rationale and reasoning that they used.
Well, then it sounds like you're agreeing with me, Professor Velloney, because here's my concern. I mean, and Ron Paul articulated this very well the other day. Once we start going down this road of taking the judiciary out of the equation as it was put in by the Constitution and giving the power to assassinate American citizens solely to the President of the United States, the decision-making power solely to the executive branch, when is it going to be that the executive branch feels so under siege that they decide that you or me are going to be the next person assassinated?
Well, there is such a thing as executive due process, and we give certain responsibilities to the executive. I do not think that
due process in the Fifth Amendment does not envision the executive, and you know that.
Well, the judiciary is in no position to be able to evaluate whether or not someone is, in fact, a member of an armed force and to go through the bargaining process.
Of course. You don't believe in our judiciary?
I believe very much in the judiciary.
You have no faith in their ability to determine. I mean,
well, I think, Tom, it really does come down to exactly what you said before. I think of this as not some global police action against some dangerous form of the mafia, which is what you appear to be looking at these terrorists as. I look at this as an actual armed conflict, and when we're in armed conflict, then the law of war applies differently than the way that you would have it apply.
But wars are held against nations, not against organizations. You don't declare war on the Communist Party of Italy, and then start bombing the suburbs of Verona.
When an organization takes up arms and becomes a hostile force against the United States, I believe that we are then in an armed conflict, and as such, the president or the executive, those that Congress has specifically authorized, have the ability to...
Do you think during the 60s that when the Weather Underground was blowing things up, that the president should have had the authority to order the assassination of those people?
I think that... And I'm sorry because I missed your question there.
Oh, okay. Well,
I apologize.
Well, I'll say it again very quickly, but you'll have to answer it right after the voice. Do you think during the 60s when the Weather Underground was blowing things up and killing people that the president should have ordered the execution of individuals?
No, I do not. I believe that was a criminal action within the United States.
Okay.
It is a foreign force, and this is an armed conflict.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Sorry, I can't stop that voice from coming in. Dr. David Velloney, regent.edu. Thanks for being with us, Professor.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.